man, things are going absolutely crazy. I have been interested in like pull rate data, the Pokemon card market for, I don't know, as long as I can remember, right? Like I played the game competitively for a long time. It was a lot of fun, but as I got a little bit older and I couldn't travel around as much, because of family and full-time job obligations and things like that, I really wanted to continue. Pokemon's been such a big part of my life. Like, it's been, honestly, seriously, it's done a lot for me. Like, mentally, it's literally saved me. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who can relate to that, but Pokemon has been, like, it's been there for me, and it's been such a great thing that I wanted to keep it in my life as much as I possibly could because of all the memories that I made, all the friends that I made, all the fun times that I had. It was such a big deal to me. But as I stopped, I still like playing competitively, but as I started like stopping going to major events to play, I tried to think of different ways that I could still keep Pokemon around, and I collected a lot, and I started dabbling in like the idea of owning an online store, or owning a business, so that way I could at least support competitive players. And at the time, like, there was a lot of issues with competitive cards getting bought out. Like, we go through buyouts now and market manipulation and things like that, but at the time, this was happening a lot with like Tapu Leles. Before Tapu Leles, it was Shaymin EXs. Before that, it was like Uxies. There was a lot of cards that would get bought out. I mean, I remember Paralyzing Gaze Zorua, which was just a common card, blowing up from, a 20 cents a bulk card up to like $30 because it was the ideal card to play in your Zoroark GX deck. So these things happened all the time in competitive Pokemon. I wanted to figure out a way that I could help be able to provide my friends, the competitive players, with additional alternatives, whether it be buying cards or cheaper cards or things like that, tropical beaches, things that they needed to be successful, so that way they wouldn't go broke and they would be able to still competitively play because it was difficult. And I thought, well, maybe I can start doing something where I have an online store and it will still keep me involved in Pokemon, and I really enjoy statistics and I like looking at numbers, and it's always been very fascinating to me. But what's happened over the past couple of months now is just mind-boggling. And obviously there's a lot of demand, and demand can surface for, many different reasons. Like, there can be a lot of different driving factors that has somebody interested from a demand standpoint, right? Like, it can be good and it could be bad. It could be a greedy thing. It could be something where people just really enjoy collecting. It could be that they just like, there could be a lot of different factors that are coupled together right now that are impacting the market. But one thing's for certain, pretty much everything in the market right now, for the most part, is blowing up. It's going crazy, except for a lot of Scarlet and Violet era singles. Like, you look at Temporal Forces, and the special illustration rares have absolutely crashed, which is amazing. Like, there are so many great cards in Scarlet and Violet, the entire generation. And I understand a lot of people don't necessarily relate to the new Pokemon very well, but we've had that every generation. We had that with Sun and Moon. We had that with Black and White. We had that with X and Y. Like, it's been tough for a lot of people to resonate with a new generation for the first few sets that come out. Now here we are moving into the fifth or the sixth set, with Twilight Masquerade coming out next weekend, and I feel like now is kind of the time where Pokemon really needs to start putting out a banger of a set to get people to really start resonating with this. But during this time, like, just enjoy the Scarlet and Violet generation being as cheap and affordable as it is, because there's a lot of really cool artworks, illustration rares, special illustration rares, things like that are absolutely gorgeous, and those prices are much cheaper than that Sword and Shield era. And it's not just alternate arts, right? It's a lot of different areas. It's sealed product, but it's also rainbow rares, and we're going to talk about rainbow rares in this video. I'm going to flip you guys around so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. We've been going through a lot of changes over the past generation, right? Scarlet and Violet introduced silver borders. We got rid of those yellow borders altogether, so that could be a driving factor. We changed pull rates completely. We got rid of the trainer gallery and instituted illustration rares. We got rid of a lot of stuff, including rainbow rares. Crown Zenith was the first set in a long time that didn't have any rainbow rares at all. We've had specialty sets that at least had one rainbow rare, right? Like Hidden Fates, for example, had the rainbow rare Moltres and Zapdos and Articuno, and there were a few rainbow rares, and some even like Shining Fates had a couple, Shining Legends had a few. There were specialty sets that had a few rainbow rares, and then once we got to Crown Zenith, there was nothing. And then Scarlet and Violet, rainbow rares were gone altogether. And I remember when rainbow rares got introduced in the Sun and Moon era, and a lot of people were very, very excited about it. And I think it kind of ran its course as we entered into the beginning of the Sword and Shield era. A lot of people focused on the full art trainers. The Sword and Shield era is where they introduced Rainbow Rares for full art trainers as well, so it wasn't just Pokemon, and I think that's kind of where Pokemon made their mistake. I think they should have just left them as Rainbow Rare Pokemon and not introduce them for full art trainers as well, because a lot of people prefer the artwork on the full art trainers. But Rainbow Rares in general, very difficult pull rates. So we're looking at pull rates right here. This is of all of the Sword and Shield era packs that we opened prior to the release of a product. So in total, we opened up 15,264 packs from Sword and Shield all the way through to Crown Zenith. Now, we probably opened up a ton more than that. This is just what we documented prior to a set's release, so that way we could calculate pull rates properly. And really, I didn't start putting this data in spreadsheets until, I don't know, like Chilling Reign, maybe right after Battle Styles. I would write things down a lot on paper, but I didn't record videos at the time, so I didn't communicate things really well. But we opened up 424 booster boxes. I think all this data is basically taken from Battle Styles on, because it does have alternate art information in here, and the alternate arts were introduced in Battle Styles. So if we break things down, overall, you get about 8 hits per pack, or 8 hits per box, which is about 1 out of every 4.5 packs. Now, it's important to remember that this does not include Radiance. This does not include Trainer Gallery cards. It's about 8. So you open up Evolving Skies, you're going to get about 8 hits. You open up Brilliant Stars, you're going to feel like you get more than 8 hits, but you're only going to get 8 hits. You get more if you calculate Trainer Gallery, Radiant cards. If you add those in as hits, then you get more. Then you get 12, 13, 14, somewhere around there, and that continues on throughout those Trainer Gallery sets. But overall, when it comes to like the main series of the main block, not the subsets of the Trainer Gallery, you're going to get about 8 hits per booster box. Now, you could get way less. Evolving Skies, I've opened up boxes where I've only gotten 4 hits. I've also opened up boxes where I've gotten 10, 11 hits. So 8 is the average. Average regular arts per box is 4.38. I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm only going to focus on the Rainbow Rares at the bottom. So you can see alternate arts, very, very difficult to pull. About 150 packs to pull on alternate art. If you want to pull an alternate art VMAX, one of those secret rares, it's 257 packs. So that's part of the reason. Obviously, low supply when it comes to those, because it is so difficult. Now, I know people might say there's still a lot out there. There is, but the demand behind it, there's so many people interested in them because they are so difficult to pull. So opening up 257 packs to pull one alternate art, even if you break it down to MSRP or less, let's say it's $3 a pack, that's $780 or somewhere around there worth of packs that it takes you to pull one alternate art VMAX. It could be, you know, an Urshifu VMAX or a Calyrex VMAX. It could be the Umbreon VMAX, but roughly, you know, taking about $750 worth of packs. If you do it at MSRP and let's say $4 a pack, you're over $1,000 just to pull one alternate art VMAX. Now, if you bought a hanger from Target and you pulled the Umbreon VMAX, your luck was great, right? But in total, you could go 256 continued packs after that without pulling anything, and then you would still fall right in line with pull rates. So very, very difficult to pull, which does explain a little bit as far as the price shift goes. And you can call it a correction if you want. Maybe demand is lining up with correction, or it could be manipulation of buyouts, or it could be a combination of both. And I really think that's kind of where we're at right now. But when it comes to Rainbow Rares, it takes you 2 boxes to pull one. So Rainbow Rares are also extremely rare with a pull rate of 0.49. It takes you about 73.5 booster packs in order to pull one Rainbow Rare. However, historically, Rainbow Rares throughout the Sword and Shield era, very, very cheap, very cheap. And if we look at the top ones that have moved a lot lately, you'll notice a pattern with all of them. There's no supporters on this list, so we're going to look at 12 that have really seen a large growth over the past couple months or so, few months, really since January of 2024. But they're all very popular Pokemon who already have alternate arts that are doing extremely well. So this is Giratina V-Star right here from Lost Origin. At one point in time, this was at $23.19. So that was about a year ago, and it did drop. It steadily declined. Now, the market for Pokemon cards changed a lot last year. A lot of Pokemon cards, when it came to modern, were dropping like crazy. Prior to, once we entered into the Scarlet and Violet generation, we talked about this all the time. Now, there's opportunities out there. There's times where these cards are getting to the point where you really want to start paying attention when it comes to alternate arts and some of these other cards. And now they've really started gaining a lot of steam, including these Rainbow Rares, which we've talked about before as well. In January of 2024, this hit a one-year low of $13.60. But now, over the past 4 months, it has gained a ton of ground. Pretty much everything that it lost over the span of 9 months, it gained back over the last 4. So it can move really fast. Now it's sitting at $22.55, closing in on that 1-year high. Here's the Mewtwo V-Star from Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go actually doing fairly well as a set. Now, still sealed product, extremely cheap. But if you look at the rainbow rares in the set, Pokemon Go is one of those sets where a lot of people like to master that set because it is a smaller set. So you can see the Mewtwo V alternate art starting to gain a lot of steam. Also, a lot of rainbow rares in this set doing very, very well when you compare it to other main series sets, which don't have alternate art or which have rainbow rares in it as well. This one also hit a 1-year low in January of 2024. It was down to $27.21. It's sitting at $33.82 now. So it's gained about 25% over the past 4 months. Now, it's still well off of its 1-year high, which was $36.38. So it's still about 10% below that, but continuing to trend in the upward direction. And it looks like it's still moving fairly well, at least on TCG Player. It's important to make sure that you look on eBay and TCG Player. Don't just focus just on TCG Player because there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on with TCG Player since they can't regulate the market as well as I think a lot of us would like them to. Here's the Rayquaza VMAX from Evolving Skies, very flat from August of 2023 up until February of 2024. You can see it hovering right around that 1-year low. It was at $25.50. But what it's done over the past couple of months, it's almost doubled in price. It's sitting at $48.54 currently and continuing to trend in the upward direction. A lot of Evolving Skies is seeing a lot of growth right now. Here's the Mew VMAX from Fusion Strike. This one's more interesting because it has been trending upward despite the fact that Mew VMAX has rotated out of standard format. Mew VMAX was a very popular card played in competitive decks, and it was printed a lot of different variants. We had starter decks or those battle deck boxes. We had the black and gold one. We had the regular Mew VMAX. You have the alternate art Mew VMAX, and then you have the rainbow rare Mew VMAX. So there's lots of different rarities as far as copies go. It took a huge decline from about August of 2023 up until October of 2023. You can see jumping or dropping from $34.31. That was its 1-year high, all the way down to $26.89. So it lost about $8 or about 30% of its value over the span of about 3 months. But now it's been steadily climbing over the past 8 months. It did see a little bit of a dip in February of 2024, but now continuing to trend in the upward direction and sitting at $31.45 currently. Here's the Sylveon VMAX, like what we talked about from the Rayquaza VMAX. Massive growth for a lot of these rainbow rares from Evolving Skies. Trended upwards for the most part from December of 2023 up until March of 2024. It was still close to its 1-year low of $17.59, but you can see in March it really spiked up and it jumped up to $45.42, which is where it's sitting right now. So that is almost 3 times growth. That's about 250% or 150% growth over the past few months. It's up to $45.42 and continuing to trend in the upward direction. Here's the Umbreon VMAX, much also like we saw from the Rayquaza VMAX. Started trending down up until about November of 2023, then started to gain a little bit back and then dropped again in March of 2024. Its 1-year low of $23.88. It hit in November of 2023. It was only a couple dollars above that in March of 2024, but then gaining about $18, so almost doubling in price, about 75% growth over the past couple of months, sitting at $41.50 currently, just off of its 1-year high. The Lugia V-Star, another popular Pokemon. This one from Silver Tempest has seen a lot of growth over the last few months. Now, part of this could be because of competitive play, but Lugia V-Star not doing great in the competitive market, and because of that, beside that, it's still doing well over the past couple of months. So giant drops all the way up until January of 2024. It fell down to $20.16, then gained a little bit back, and then rotation happened and it blew up. And it's sitting at hit that 1-year high, $32.14 in May of 2023. Now it's sitting at $28.55, so it's still about 20% off of that, but it is about 40% above where it was in January 2024, so still gaining a lot of steam. Here's the Blaziken VMAX from Chilling Reign. Now, the Blaziken VMAX alternate art is doing extremely well. So is this one for some reason. In October of 2023, September of 2023, it was at its 1-year low of $12.35. Really kind of close to the basement for this card because it stayed relatively flat all the way up until March of 2024 and then took off like crazy. And now it's sitting at $17.81. So that's a 1-year high for this card, and continuing to trend in the upward direction for a Blaziken VMAX. Again, another popular Pokemon. Leafeon VMAX, all the evolutions doing extremely well. This one was trending downward up until November of 2023. It was sitting at its 1-year low of $14.74. cents, and then really took off ever since November, so a little bit longer than the gains that we've seen from some of these other ones. Trending upward, it's gained 60%, 70%. It's up to $22.47 and continuing to trend in the upward direction. Gyarados VMAX from Evolving Skies also doing extremely well. You can see it dropping in October of 2023 down to $14.75. Now it's almost doubled in price over the past 7 months. Again, like what we saw from Leafeon, it started its ascent a little bit earlier, now sitting at $27.62 and continuing to trend upward. Here's the Snorlax VMAX from Sword and Shield base. This card is absolutely amazing. The regular VMAX is also doing extremely well, but this is going to be a fan favorite for a very, very long time because of the design, because of the artwork. A lot of people love this, and you know Snorlax is a very popular Pokemon. You look at the gold card from Chilling Reign, and it really defies all gold cards that we've had printed because it still is selling for about $70 compared to a lot of other gold Pokemon, which are selling for single digits. In March of 2024, this was sitting at a one-year low of $27.02. It's gained about 40% over the past month and a half, sitting at $37.76 currently and continuing to trend in the upward direction. Here's the origin form, Dialga V-Star, this one from Astral Radiance. A lot of this probably does have to do with competitive play, but continuing to trend in the upward direction. It hit its one-year low in November of 2023. It was $8.26, relatively flat then up until March, and we see the same pattern as what we saw from a lot of these other ones. So whether it be just because of competitive Pokemon or also because of collecting Pokemon, it's jumped up to $17.48. Basically overnight, it's doubled in price over the past month. So continuing to trend in the upward direction. But this is a small smattering of rainbow rares that are doing extremely well. It's not all rainbow rares, but a lot of the rainbow rares that are more popular Pokemon, and there's still a lot out there that are super cheap. So you still have a lot of opportunities out there if you're still looking to fill out master sets and things like that. But with pull rates being as difficult as they are, and Pokemon no longer making rainbow rares, you have no idea what it's going to look like. It's all speculative, obviously. The whole Pokemon market is all speculative. That's why I just like looking at it, talking about it, and that's it. I don't really like making predictive analysis or anything like that because you never know what's going to happen. But I like to point out certain situations where, okay, we like to study the fact that, okay, this might be its basement. It's been relatively flat for a few months now. Might not go a whole lot lower than this. The Dialga starting to trend upward. If it does fall out of competitive play, it might come back a little bit. So definitely something to keep in consideration as you continue to move forward and making the best decisions when it comes to spending your collection dollars. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a super long way for the algorithm. We should have Twilight Masquerade hopefully within the next few days. We'll do a lot of work opening up Twilight Masquerade, calculating pull rates, things like that, giving away our master set to one lucky subscriber. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We'll be back tomorrow with a stream, and then Thursday and Friday with more videos. Until next time, guys, peace.